Hey, thank you so much for that introduction. And thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to speak to a group of people who already have an awareness and and gravitate towards the spiritual side of life, because I speak to many people in many different places and often am the one who is introducing them to that concept. So I already feel that there's a lot of ground established here that I don't even need to cover, which is wonderful. I feel very at home here. And I just wanted to thank Annette too for her brief talk about spring, because it really is a time of rebirth. And one thing that I really want to leave everyone today with is this understanding that no matter what has happened, no matter even what has happened this morning, this is a new moment. And we can always claim the new moment. And as you say in your opening prayer, really plant a seed in this moment. And if we know how to water it with purpose and intention, it can really grow into something new. So we don't have to accept everything that has happened in the past as what will continue to unfold. We can accept it with gratitude and forgiveness and love, but we don't have to keep carrying anything with us that doesn't feel good. So it is a wonderful time. We can do it at any time of year, but especially spring, this time of rebirth, is a great opportunity to do that. So yes, my name is Sara Fishkin, and I am a law of assumption and prosperity coach. And I really guide people in how to bring forth more love, more vitality, more abundance, more joy and fulfillment in their lives through understanding who they really are, and through understanding this incredible tool that we are all carrying around with us at all times, which is our mind. And before I talk about my journey, which is the main reason I'm here and what I'm mostly going to talk about, I just want to talk about this word manifestation, because it's a big word these days. If most people, especially in spiritual circles, it's a very common word, and yet I feel that it is incredibly misunderstood, because so many people come to me and they say, Sara, I want to learn how to manifest. And I say, you're manifesting 24/7, and you've been manifesting 24/7 since the moment you entered this body. Because if you look at that word manifest, those three letters, M-A-N, if you've noticed, those same three letters are in the word that we refer to as ourselves: human, woman, man. So those three letters, there's a connection there. And those letters actually mean distributor, measurer. So we are distributors of divine energy. We are this intersection. We're right in the middle between heaven and earth. We are the ones through which the divine spirit of life brings everything forth, with the exception of unadulterated nature. So if you look around your room on Zoom or in this room, I challenge you to find anything. And I do this with my kids, and they always try, but I challenge you to find anything that did not come from an idea in someone's mind. Anything. Clothes you're wearing, the seat you're sitting on, this table. My kids might say, well, that plant, Mom. And I say, well, somebody decided to grow that and put it in this pot and bring it in this glass, beautiful little basket and stick it here. So as far as its presence in our experience, this was also an idea. So I'm saying this because we forget that every single thing we experience originated as an idea and then moved into form through a process that is the same process with everything. And so my job is to help people understand that process, because when you understand that process, you can apply it to every single aspect of your life, and you don't need to stay stuck with things that you don't like at all. It's very exciting. So I had to say that first, because once I get on a roll, I might forget to say it. And that is really why I'm here, is to help you understand how powerful you are, to help you understand that you're not just this body, this name, this story, or who you feel yourself to be. You are a vessel through which this infinite, eternal, creative spirit of life is flowing at all times. And it's flowing through every single person in the same exact way in all places at once. So every single person has the exact same potential, because we're working with the exact same energy. It is 100% evenly present in all places at once, because that is all there is. But it's coming through us, each in a very unique way. And so I'll tell my story now, which is that for a long time, let's say almost 4 decades, I did not understand what the heck I was doing here. As a young child, I had a very clear sense of myself as a spiritual being. I could feel that I had lifetimes before this time. And I remember as a child looking around being like, what is this? Like this whole thing, because I was very comfortable with my spiritual nature. And I couldn't make sense of what this 3D physical life was. And I was very confused about why there was so much difficulty. Because on a certain level, I knew that we're good, we're eternal, we're blessed, we are the light. That's why I played that song, I Am Light. I knew that. And yet I was surrounded by people growing up who did not get along, tons of conflict in my home, very challenging relationships. I was surrounded by people who worried continually about money, particularly, worried about the state of the world in a big way. And I never really felt at home unless I was in nature. So I spent a lot of time there. And because there was so much conflict in my home, and because I was a sensitive child, I, at a very early age, learned to prioritize other people's desires and needs ahead of mine, which I'm sure is a common experience for many people. And so I really lost track at an early age of like what I love, what I like, what I prefer. And so when I graduated high school, I had no idea what I wanted at all. And I was really appalled at the state of the world. I felt this impending sense of doom and this very unsettled feeling. And I just kind of went on a journey. I tried college. I quit college. I tried herbal medicine school. I quit herbal medicine school. I tried shiatsu school. I quit shiatsu school. You get a theme going here. I was following certain patterns and interests that were natural to me, because like I said, we all have these natural patterns, these things that we're inclined towards. But I would always get to a certain point where, for one reason or another, there was something wrong. It just wasn't right. And I could not go any further. So those are only 3 examples. I had many things that I began that I took to quite a good length and then didn't finish. So I had this string of unfinished endeavors, so no college education, no certificates. And then I did finish a few things. And then with those certificates I didn't do anything with them. And the whole while I just felt lost. I was like, I want to know my purpose and I want to live it. Like if anyone said, Sarah, what is it you want? That's what I wanted. I said, I just want to know what my purpose is. And I just want to live it in service. And I want to be well compensated. And I want to serve in a big way and enjoy my life. But I always felt like I could not quite get to it. And meanwhile, I was doing a lot of jobs I didn't like. I was naturally a gardener because I love the earth. And like I said, I was at home in nature, but I was finding myself, spending hours getting paid to weed the weeds from the cracks in people's patios and waitressing in the winters and feeling like, no, this is definitely not living my purpose. I was struggling financially in a big way, and I was really struggling in my relationships. I am a very loving and I thought lovable person, but in my relationships, I didn't feel loved, and I didn't feel seen, understood, like my needs were being met, and there was a lot of conflict, which ultimately for me ended in a divorce. So this went on for quite a long time, and I was constantly trying to remedy it. So I studied meditation, a couple different forms of meditation, practiced that meditation, did yoga. I worked with shamans, I worked with Reiki masters, I worked with various healers, I did plant medicine ceremonies. I really, really, really did it all. I'm sure there are some things I didn't do, but pretty much did it all to try to heal whatever it was that was keeping me from living the way I was feeling called to live. And all the while, I would write about how I really wanted to live in these journals that I had. I would write about the farm I wanted to have, the food I wanted to grow, the traveling I wanted to do, the kind of impact I wanted to leave in the world. I would write about all these things, but none of it was happening. None of it was really happening. And this came to a head right around the time, not long after my divorce, when I was suddenly raising my 3 children. I have twins and then an older one, and my twins were 3 and my older one was 7. And I was living on a pretty small amount of alimony and child support, and I was pulling those weeds in the cracks of the patios and waitressing in the winters. And I got to this point where honestly, I just felt like if something doesn't change, I would rather not be here, because I felt very comfortable in the spiritual world. I still do. I'm not afraid of dying. I know that is I know we are eternal. I have no fear of death. It's just the process of formation and transformation. So that was all easy, but this place sucked. And it also sucked in the world. I mean, let's be honest. Like, what's going on? And I just was feeling like, okay, something's got to change, because obviously, as a mother of 3 children, I'm not going to leave. I would never do that. So please, Creator, give me whatever it is that I need that I haven't come across yet that's going to help me fix this. And that is when I met Bob Proctor. And I don't know how many of you know who he was. Some of you do, some of you don't. Well, he was very very unlikely messenger for me, because I was kind of this earthy, hippie, spiritual person, and he was this white-haired businessman in a suit, always with a tie, always neat and tidy, pretty much the kind of person that I would typically think, oh yeah, I don't really relate with that kind of person. That was my, just surface judgment. But boy, I mean, I went to a 3-day free workshop with him, and everything he was saying was like, oh my God, this is it. This is the missing piece. So that's why I'm here today. I want to, in addition to telling my story, I want to share the missing piece, because it finally helped me to understand what I needed to do in order to start to see in my physical life all the things I was writing about, and to change that experience of feeling so discouraged and lost and stuck, and to stop struggling financially, and to enjoy fulfilling relationships. And so Bob gave me the key. And I want to share a little bit about that key with you today, which is why I brought this with me today. This is my friend, the stick person. It's a, you would be like, how is this the key to your, spiritual unfoldment on the planet? And this very simple thing has changed my life. And this is what I use to help many people change their lives who are struggling with, everyone's struggling with the same thing, just it's a different version, right? So this top circle represents your mind. And this little circle at the bottom represents your body. And what Bob helped me understand was something that really turned the light bulb on, which he said, the part of you that is responsible for your results, for your actual circumstances, is not the part of you that knows. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, no. And that was like, I was like, wow, because he was right. I knew so much. And we all do here. Like, I bet I could ask everyone in this room, do you know you are a spiritual being? You would say yes. Do you know, therefore, that because you're a spiritual being, you're unlimited? You would say yes. I said yes. But that wasn't my experience. So he cleared it up for me. He said, the part of you that's responsible for your results is the part of you that feels. This is the other. So there's two parts of the mind. This is the part that knows, our intellect. It's where we've gathered all the information, everything. And I'm talking like spiritual information. And I'm also talking about, scientific information, whatever you've been schooled in. I mean, I work with people who are geniuses and are struggling financially. They've got degrees out the wazoo and they're struggling financially. And I'm like, okay, well, you obviously know plenty. The part of you that knows, this is why people who are challenged with addiction, they know. I have a very close person in my life who's struggling with addiction. He knows that drinking is really bad for him, but that's not what's in charge of his behavior. And what Bob helped me understand were certain laws that are operating, which is basically law of cause and effect, that whatever we give out through our actions comes back to us in equal form as a reaction from life. And so this is the part. This is called the subconscious mind. This is the conscious mind. This is the subconscious mind. This thinks, this feels. He said, how you feel is what is in charge of what you do. And what you do is what ultimately ends up manifesting as your results. And this is why I kept quitting what I was doing. This is why I wasn't even applying what I had learned, was because I got this idea somewhere along the line that I was lost, that I was off track. And because I felt that way, everything I did had to produce the evidence of this idea, this assumption that I'm lost. And so Bob was like, you can actually just start assuming I'm on track. And I was like, well, what do you mean? I'm not on track. Look at my life. He said, no. This is the other thing he taught me. See these things? These are our five senses. And what most of us are doing all the time is we're looking at what currently is, what we see, hear, taste, smell, and touch, and we're allowing that to control how we think and then how we feel. So we're creating more of it and we're stuck in a feedback loop. So I'm here to help you all get out of the feedback loop by recognizing that everything you see, hear, taste, smell, and touch in your life right now is just the results of all your past thinking and feeling. It's like thunder and lightning. You know how thunder is the sound that lightning makes when it goes through the air. It's one thing. but we experience the thunder after the lightning because the speed of light is faster than the speed of sound. So all your circumstances right now are your past thinking catching up to you in physicality. So you can give yourself permission to stop reacting to it. And instead, this is what he taught me. And this is why I call my work inner vision coaching. Instead, connect with what you want using your higher mental faculties of imagination, perception, intuition, will, reason, and create a new pattern in your mind. Remember I said everything comes from an idea? So create a new idea now, purely based on what you would love, and then get emotionally involved in it as if it's happening now. Because what he said was, this part of your mind is always now, and it cannot reject anything that is impressed upon it with repetition and feeling. So he basically said, you can take a new idea, repeat it and feel it, practice that, and pretty soon, like you talk about in your opening prayer, that seed will sprout and grow into a fact, a physical fact in your life. And I was just totally blown away because he helped me understand that this law of attraction, have you all heard about the law of attraction more or less? You know, watch The Secret. If you watch The Secret, you saw Bob. He was the white-haired man in The Secret. Yeah. Well, he talked about that movie and basically said they missed something very important in that movie, which is that this whole law of attraction business that is governed by a primary law called the law of vibration, which basically states that only that which you are vibrationally in harmony with is what you can actually experience. How do you know what vibration you're in? By how you feel. So whatever dominant feeling you're walking around with is literally the indication of the vibration you're in, and you can only attract and experience things on that frequency. And Bob helped me to understand that actually, though, everything is already here. We're in a quantum experience and everything is already here. But what you experience is only on like the station you're on, the frequency you're on. So he taught me how to get into the feeling of my wish fulfilled. And that's why it says in the Bible, ask. When you ask, believe that it is already given and it shall be given unto you. The Bible is this manual for how to use our minds. They're telling us there that, okay, we don't ask by saying, please, 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 give me, can it happen? Please, I want it to happen, because that's what I was doing for so long. And I thought I was praying, but I was actually praying for what I didn't want, because your subconscious mind is like this very simple awareness, and it takes a feeling as a fact, and it sends it off like a text message to universal intelligence and says, move it into form. And so I was saying, please, I want this to happen. And my subconscious mind was basically taking that feeling and says, oh, she doesn't have it. She doesn't have it. She doesn't have it. Sending it off. Okay, well, here I more of what I don't have. And I was just wondering, well, where is it? Why is it not here? So instead, I had to start to learn how to give thanks, like genuine thanks for what I wanted, as if it were already here. Getting into the feeling of it and practicing that feeling, knowing, because I understand the laws, that that's all I need to do. And that my subconscious mind is now sending that off, and I can pretty much wait with expectancy, and I can watch with this calm joy, as if I already know the end of the movie, these events and circumstances and people appearing as if magic, but it's not, it's law. It's this law of vibration, this law of attraction, this law of cause and effect, as within, so without. And everything started to change when I got this. And then I was like, oh, I am on track. I do know my purpose. I want to help everyone else change whatever it is they've been wanting to change. Because what I've also realized that Bob helped me understand is that this dissatisfaction that we experience as humans, it's a good thing. Bob said, dissatisfaction is a creative state. He said, always be grateful for what you have, for exactly how it is. He said, but don't be satisfied, because this spirit of life that's operating through you is continually expanding. The universe is expanding infinitely, and it's doing it through us. So when you want more love, or you want more money, or you want more freedom, or you want to be able to express yourself more creatively, or you want more enjoyment, you want to take this kind of trip, or you want to do that fun thing, that's because this spirit of life is seeking greater expression through you, and you have your own unique pattern. Because I used to just dismiss what I wanted. I would say, well, gosh, who am I to want more money, even though I'm living literally month to month, because I traveled in third world countries where people were starving. And I thought, well, that just doesn't feel right for me to want more when these people don't even have anything. And so I was blocking my abundance, like massively, because I felt guilty. But what Bob taught me was that there's an infinite source of supply, that this spirit of life is infinite, and it's the source and substance of everything, and there is no lack. So let it come through you, Sara. Let yourself be more abundant. This is about letting, like, that's the other thing, is that we are surrounded by goodness. There truly is infinite love, infinite vitality, infinite abundance, unfathomable beauty. And all we have to do is allow it. But all these patterns I had absorbed in my childhood, patterns of conflict, patterns of lack, patterns of unease, were keeping me from letting it flow through me in an abundant, prosperous, loving way. Because this is the other incredible thing. So just imagine this, right? Imagine this top half of the circle is not here. This is how we are as children until about age 8 years old. When we're born, we're in a hypnotic state. We are pure subconscious mind. And remember I said subconscious can't reject anything. So everything going on around me went straight into my subconscious mind, and the subconscious always interprets everything as I am. So everything that was going on around me with the people who, bless them, were doing their best, but they had their own thing, their own beliefs, and all that was passed along, I took on all their stuff, which is, oh, well, I am struggling. Oh, I don't know how to get along in a relationship. I am challenged financially. I am lost. That wasn't true. None of that was true. I was a perfect being, just like each and every one of you. We are perfect beings. And that was the other thing. It's like, I was like, what is wrong with me? Why does everyone else seem to be like doing so fine, just doing fine or doing well? Or not everyone, obviously, but a lot of people around me. And Bob said, there's nothing wrong with you. You're perfect. What's wrong with you is all this garbage that you consented to when you had no choice. And so I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive myself for ever believing all that garbage about myself and replace it with the truth. The truth is, I'm naturally abundant. I'm naturally prosperous. I'm naturally on track. I'm naturally connected to what I love. I am naturally harmonious in relationships. And just because I didn't see a shred of evidence yet in my physical life didn't mean that I shouldn't assume that. In fact, it's the very reason I should assume it. And as I started to assume it and really develop it into an assumption, that physical evidence started changing. And I also studied with another mentor who's also not alive, and he was never alive in my lifetime, but I connected with him through my work with Bob Proctor's Institute, with Neville Goddard. I don't know if any of you know who he was, but he really lumped all these laws into one, which was amazing, called the law of assumption. And he said, and I love it because it's so true. He said, an assumption, any assumption, even though false, meaning you don't see a shred of evidence of it, if you persist in it, hardens into fact. So you could have been struggling your entire life, and you listen to me talk this morning, and then start assuming from this moment on, I'm doing really well. I'm doing really well. Everything's taking off for me. I'm really gaining traction. I'm starting to thrive in my life. And if you can get into the feeling of that and practice that, that assumption will start to harden like an ice cube tray in the freezer, you know, it will start to harden into that. So if you've had track record perhaps of like failed relationship after failed relationship after failed relationship, and you're walking around with this feeling of like, I'm really terrible in relationship. I can't keep relationships. I'm struggling in relationship. Notice that word I am. Whatever you put with the I am is your assumption. So you got to switch it. And there's another law that helps us switch it called the law of polarity, which is basically says that everything has an opposite. So I just tell my clients to say, well, what's the opposite of that? The opposite of that is I'm thriving in relationship. And it's not true yet, but you're going to now assume that. And then we have to work with that assumption until it influences our behavior. Because as you start persisting in the feeling of that, you start acting differently. I was wrecking all my relationships because I assumed that my person didn't really love me. So when he or she said something that really was quite neutral, the filter it went through in me was, they don't care about me. I don't matter. And I got very reactive because of that assumption and started acting in such a way that literally drove that person away, which was then created the evidence of the very thing I was assuming. So we have to recognize we unconsciously are creating the evidence of everything we've been believing about ourselves through what we do or don't do. And that's what I want to really, I don't know how much time I have left. Am I good? I think I'll wrap it up, right? Yeah. I want to impress upon all of you today, because if I can do it, you can do it. If Bob could do it, who was literally just down and out working in a firehouse in Toronto, had grown up in the Depression, had no money, was totally in debt, had 2 months high school, I think, and like just wasn't going anywhere, to earning millions and millions of dollars and helping countless people around the globe to actualize their potential. If he could do it, you could do it. If I can do it, you could do it. And it's all about learning how to work with this part of yourself, understanding what role each part takes and how to connect with what you want, set a goal, and then plant that goal in your subconscious mind as done now. And then recognize that the spirit of life does the rest. It's incredible. And I just want to encourage each and every one of you to stop dismissing what you really want, because maybe you think because it hasn't happened yet that it never can. It's not true at all. You're an infinite being with infinite potential, working with infinite power that is present 100% at all times. And you have this direct line to the divine, which is in your subconscious mind. So once you learn how to access and direct this part of yourself, you're in a deliberate communication with the divine. And you're now being a deliberate humanifester. And no matter where you are, whatever age you are, whatever's happened, every single person has this ability. So I believe now I open up to questions,
yes,
right? Okay, so anyone has any